at how we can utilize motivation on a daily basis. How we could put ourselves in a place where today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year is always progressing forward. How we're allowing ourselves to hit a point inside where we become benefit to this universe, and where we utilize the things inside of ourselves and the positivity inside of ourselves in such a way that the reflection shines out from within who you are. So let's go ahead and start looking at this. Let's start getting into these challenges that we're facing off against on a daily. Let's start asking ourselves these types of questions. How can I overcome these challenges that I face off against day? And what are the purpose of the ability to utilize them for us? So one of the parts of being able to focus is getting down to really what is focus. And so when you start to ask yourself this question, you have to look at what focus actually is. Now, focus is the ability to absorb. The ability to absorb to where you actually learn from it and have the ability to utilize it. So the person who is focused ultimately shines out as a reflection. Now, as we allow ourselves to get to that place where we start to use the things that we have learned from our level of absorption, then we start to utilize what we have inside of ourselves, and through that, we become a reflection on the outside. So if you get into the challenges that you're facing off against on a daily basis, if you get down with yourself to the point where what you have inside reflects outwards, then this universe starts to become your friend. Now, as you start to utilize these challenges that you're going to face off against on a daily basis, as you give yourself the ability to be a part of that process, as that process starts to utilize you, you will start to recognize that the challenges that you face off against are meant for you. They're meant for you specifically to be able to overcome from your level of focus within yourself. So when we go within who we are, when we start to ask ourselves, is this the type of person that I want to become? Is this who I want to be on the inside? And is this the reflection that I want to shine outwards? Then ultimately we start to answer these types of questions for ourselves. We start to find that the person inside of who we are is what is most important. And when you start to allow yourself to focus into the things that you are, when you allow yourself to focus in the way in which you are, then what reflects outwards is coming from within who you are inside. So have you asked yourself that question? Have you got down with yourself to write down the things that you want so that you can achieve the goals and the dreams that you want to achieve? Have you got to that place where what's within you radiates outwards? And so when other people start to see you radiating out with that, when other people start to understand that the challenges that you face off against on a daily basis are a reflection on the outside, when they start to see that those challenges that you face off against, they were tailor-made for you, when they see this, when they understand this, when they're in their journey and their path to that point, then the reflection shines outward from within themselves. And so if we ask ourselves this type of question, if we get down to who we are on the inside, then ultimately focus starts to become an absorption. Focus starts to become the answering the question on the outside from what we talk about ourselves on the inside. When we call ourselves a reflection, ultimately what we're doing is we're saying, hey, let me go ahead and see how focused I am. Let me go ahead and go within myself and find the answers. Let me go ahead and reflect outwards from the understanding on the inside. And so when we allow this to be part of who we are, when we allow the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis to give us the ability to grow, when we give ourselves that place inside of ourselves on a daily basis, then ultimately what we're doing is we're understanding that these challenges are meant for us. These abilities to go within ourselves is within us. And so, as we overcome the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis, we will start to recognize that the ability to go within ourselves comes from our level of focus. So, this is why utilizing the ability to write stuff down is important. Utilizing the ability to listen to things that bring us up, the ability to only listen to what we want our outcome to become. If we want our blessings to come from within ourselves, we ultimately need to focus to the point where we are a blessing. And so that's where a lot of people start to get lost, as they start to look outwards for the things that are inside of them. They start to look at how they could change the things around them instead of allowing themselves to be who they are on the inside. And so when we reflect outwards from within who we are, when we start to understand this, when we start to get down with the person that we are inside, when the reflection that shines outwards is coming from within who you are, you ultimately start to answer those types of questions for yourself, which is the reason why it can never be you versus somebody else. It always is going to be you versus you. Is this what you got? Is this what you're made of? Is this the type of challenge that you're willing to take on? Is this the type of person that you're looking to become? And ultimately, when the reflection shines outwards, ultimately when the understanding from the focus, it becomes a process, then we have the ability for us to become a reflection of motivation. We have the ability to become a reflection of strength. We have the ability to go within ourselves to find the answers. When we start to get to that place where we are ultimately happy to be ourselves, where what is inside of you is becoming a reflection on the outside from your level of focus, when what you have on the inside is a reflection, then you start to understand the challenges that you face off against on a daily basis. Then you start to get to the place inside of yourself where what you have inside of you radiates outwards. When we understand this, when we get to this place where these challenges that we face off against are tailor-made for us, each individual, then we start to use this universe in such a way that it is a blessing. And I'm telling you, each individual is a blessing. Each challenge that you face off against on a daily basis is a blessing. Each person in this universe is a blessing. And each of you have that inside of yourselves. Each of you have that place when you're honest with yourself to find that level of focus. And so when what we are is a reflection on the outside of who we are on the inside, when that becomes that level of focus, then people start to call you an inspiration. They'll start to call you an individual. They'll start to see the difference between you and other people just from you being yourself. And that is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful place to be within who we are. And so, who we are on the inside is what's most important. Without the mentality to have the focus, without the mentality to go within ourselves, then ultimately we're letting things twisted backwards. When we put it forward, when we put the things that are most important in place, when we give ourselves the ability to reflect outwards from within ourselves, then ultimately what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to be a focus in this universe. And so when we become a focus in this universe, the universe is going to test you. It's going to ask you these types of questions. Is this what you truly want? Are you the type of person who can take on this challenge and overcome it? Can you face off against yourself to become the reflection that you are on the inside? And so when we answer these types of questions, when we put ourselves in this place, when we give ourselves the ability to go within who we are, then ultimately what we have inside radiates outwards. Ultimately what we have inside is an understanding. And so when you understand that that is the purpose, that what you have going on inside of you is more important than what is going on around you, when you could face off against the person that you are on the inside and overcome the challenges on the outside, then you're utilizing this universe. A lot of people don't use this universe to the point which they want to go within themselves. They want a lot of answers from the outside instead of from the inside. They want everything to be given to them so that they can have things. They want to take things from other people. When we want just to be ourselves, when we search out who we are on the inside, when we answer the question on the inside and we find people who want to be with us for who we are, then ultimately what happens is we have the ability to utilize this universe. So are you searching out those types of people? Are you putting yourself in that type of place? Are you giving yourself that ability to go within who you are to find the answers? And so a lot of times, we ask ourselves these types of questions. We ask ourselves, how great is this universe? How great are the people in this universe? Are there any good people in this universe? The first question is, are you good with you? Not is it about if you're good or bad. Are you in peace with yourself? Are you in a place of focus to the point where the things that aren't you are moving out of the way? Are you to that place where you're asking yourself these types of questions where you are there, and the challenges that you're facing off against on a daily basis are from within you? So when we ask ourselves these types of questions, when we give ourselves this type of place, when we get down with who we are on the inside, ultimately what we're doing is we're answering these questions. We're testing this universe to see if what we truly want is what we really want. And so when you start to answer those types of questions, you start to say to yourself, I am focused. When you get to that place where that absorption on the inside is being spoken outwards, when you write stuff down where, the things and the challenges that you face off against on a daily basis help you to grow, when you understand yourself to that point, when you get down to the person that you are on the inside and the reflection on the outside is there. And so what we sometimes have to do is, utilize this universe as a tool. We have to recognize that we are a tool in this universe, and through doing so, we can overcome the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis. And the tools are all around us, just so you know. They're all around you, testing you to see if you are that focused. They're there to see if what you truly want is what you truly want. And so, that is a focus. When we are willing to get to that place where our absorption is utilizing this universe, where we absorb the stuff into ourselves and we recognize that is coming down to our level of focus. When we go somewhere, or we decide to drive somewhere, or we decide to do something in a certain way, and we achieve that is a place of focus. So as we answer these types of questions, ultimately what we're doing is we're understanding that this is a challenge that I can take on, that this is a place that I can go within myself, that what I have within me can become a reflection on the outside, that what I do on a daily basis is a reflection on the outside. And so as I get down to focus and I take full responsibility for myself, and as you take full responsibility for yourself, and you don't put it on anybody else to do it for you, when it starts to come from within you and it radiates outwards, then ultimately what happens is the reflection will start to shine on the outside. And so as you start to answer those types of questions for yourself, you start to find that the focus within yourself is super important. And so when you go within who you are, when you answer this question to yourself for who you are on the inside, it's going to require a major level of focus. It's going to require you to, see the process itself of focus. Allow yourself to absorb your level of focus. It's going to require to utilize this universe in such a way that the tools in this universe start working for you. And so when you get to the point inside of yourself where, it is you versus you, no one is going to save you from you, then the absorption starts to work. Then the person that you are inside starts to become a reflection on the outside. The challenges that you face off against are you. And so what is it that you're facing off against on a daily basis that is challenging you from being yourself? Are you getting down to the person that you are inside? Are you getting to that place inside of who you are that what you feel is coming from your level of focus, that the things that are not yours are moving out of the way? And so as you get to that place, as you find that kind of reflection on the outside, ultimately what you're utilizing is the ability to use yourself as a blessing in this universe. And so as that focus heats up, as that ability to get to that place where what is going on around you is coming from you taking responsibility for yourself, getting down to the focus to the level where you are so into it that you can see the positive and the negative working in your favor. When you're so focused that you are absorbing the things that are going on around you, you're absorbing the challenges that you face off against on a daily basis, you're absorbing that reflection outwards, then ultimately what's going on inside of you is a growth. Ultimately what's going on inside of you becomes a reflection on the outside. Ultimately what's going on inside of you is that you're getting to know the knowledge of focus. And so as we can utilize this universe, it can also utilize you. Through utilizing you from your level of focus, that's when other people will start to call you motivation. That's when other people will start to look at you in such a way that they see that you have something so special inside of yourself that it reflects outwards. And so when we answer these types of questions, when we get to this place inside of ourselves where we're working on the challenges that we have individually from our level of focus, and we start to achieve our goals, and we start to achieve our dreams from our level of focus, then ultimately what happens is the reflection will shine outwards. Ultimately what goes on inside of us becomes a reflection on the outside. And so when you utilize this, when you get to this place inside of yourself where it's you versus you, when you find that the universal tools come to the person who's willing to focus, to go within themselves to find the answers. So as you start to get yourself to the point where you are focused, as you start to write stuff down, listen to positivity, search out the light in this universe will have the ability to utilize you. And as we recognize that there is no challenge that can't be overcome for the one that can focus to the point where they can achieve it, and that the things that we don't achieve aren't because we don't want to, it's because we're not willing to focus to that point. And so we get what we focus on. That's just it. It is what it is. We get what we focus on. If we're focusing ourselves into a positive place, if we're focusing into having a positive companionship, if we're focusing into putting things in such a way that the reflection shines outwards from within ourselves, then ultimately what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to go within who we are. That means that we are starting to absorb our focus. That means that focus is an inwards reflection outwards. So the inwards is a positivity. That reflection on the outside doesn't always come out as positivity. And so when we understand this, that we can utilize this universe in such a way that the things that are not meant for us will move out of the way, then we can find the positivity in everything. We can find the positivity in the direction. We can find the positivity in the angles within ourselves. We can find the positivity understanding who we are on the inside. And so, as we individually have challenges, we also have the individual ability to focus. We have the individual ability to start to utilize the gifts that we have in this universe. And so, what kind of gifts do you have? What kind of challenges are you facing off against today? Are you putting yourself in a place where those challenges that you're facing off against today are giving you the ability to radiate outwards? Are you getting to the place inside of who you are where any challenge that you face off against, it was you who put yourself there? Are you at that place inside of yourself where your focus is becoming the most important piece of your puzzle, where what you utilize on a daily basis comes from within you, where there's no challenge too great for the person who's willing to go within themselves? Are you with yourself on that level? Are you grinding to the point where what you have on the inside is your connection to positivity? That can you see yourself as a positive force in this universe? When we start to get down to that place inside of who we are, we start to get to that place where the reflection shines from within ourselves outwards, where ultimately there is no challenge too great for us. So are we in that to the point where what we have inside is showing outwards? So look inside of yourself for the focus. Write stuff down to where what is shining outwards is coming from within you. So now, recognizing that you are a universal tool, that you have the ability to use the tools that you do have, that this universe needs you. So are you focusing to that place? Are you putting yourself in that ability to go within yourself? Are you answering these types of questions? Are these the type of challenges that I want to take on? And when you answer those types of questions, when you get to that place where what you have inside of yourself is a reflection outwards, then ultimately what we're utilizing is the blessings in this universe. And when we allow ourselves to be that kind of focus, where we focus on the positivity, where we absorb positivity and identify how everything can work in a positive direction, when we give ourselves that ability to get to that place, you will ultimately recognize that it's ultimately up to you inside of yourself to find that reflection, that you are responsible for yourself, and that when people join you on your journey, that you are still on your own journey, that it is within yourself that you have to find that happiness, that when you go within who you are, that is when the blessings come your way. And so as you become that kind of a process, as you become that kind of focus, as you become that place where it reflects outwards from within yourself, it's going to require to use all the tools that you have available to you. It's going to require listening to positivity. It's going to require writing stuff down, speaking stuff out. It's going to require all of those things, using all the facilities and faculties that you have. If you're in a way in which you have to, listen to a certain type of music so you can focus? Are you putting yourself in that place where that absorption is still coming through? If you're working on English class, and the ultimate reflection of your focus is that you want to pass the class, are you making sure that you're giving yourself the ability to have that place where things are moving out so that you can do that? Are you putting yourself into that place where ultimately it's you versus you, and that you're not making any excuses for anything else other than being the focus that you have inside of yourself from that level of absorption from all the lessons that you've learned, right? So as we focus more and more, as we get down with ourselves to a point where what is inside of us radiates outwards, we ultimately have to start to get to the point where that reflection shines outwards. And so this process is to study those that have focus to that point. It's to put yourself in a place where you understand that focus is the reflection, is motivation. That when you are focused, others will see that and they will recognize from your level of focus. They will recognize that what is going on is that what you are showing outwards is a reflection. That when you are happy to be yourself, that is coming from your level of focus. That when you have blessings in your life, that they are coming from your level of focus. They're coming from you being yourself. And so when we get to that place inside of ourselves, when it radiates outwards as a reflection, when it radiates outwards as a understanding, when it radiates outwards from within who we are, that ultimately the reflection that's shining outwards is us. And so when other people see that and they know you for being yourself, when they understand and they start to see that you are a tool, this universe has the ability to utilize you for who you are on the inside. And that is to know yourself to that level of focus. That is to be the person that you are on the inside. And so when we understand that the challenges that we face off against daily are a blessing, that we have the ability to utilize them on a daily basis to turn them into positivity. We have the ability to take everything, Newton's third law, for each action is equal and opposite reaction. Can you identify with the positive and the negative forces in such a way that you can turn them into a positivity? Are you putting yourself in that place where the reflection that's shining outwards is coming from who you are? Truly, when you get to be who you are on the inside, those type of people get to understand and love you for who you are. And so that is a type of focus. That is a utilization of ourselves as a tool in this universe. That this universe has such a path that it's important for us to see the light in the tunnel. That tunnel that is us, that tunnel that is you by yourself, that dark place inside of yourself where only you can go. Can you bring light to those darknesses inside of yourself that this universe has the ability to utilize you? And so, as each individual's challenge goes beyond that, as each individual's reflection shines outwards, we have to start to write stuff down in such a way in which we become organized. Write stuff down in such a way in which we are the reflection on the outside. It's a part of being a process. Are you in that process with yourself? Are you the reflection on the outside of who you are in the inside? And so when we start to answer these types of questions from our level of absorption, from our level of understanding ourselves, are we blessings in this universe? Are we bringing blessings to other people as well from us being ourselves? And sometimes that's going to require focusing to the point where others understand where we're coming from, what types of challenges we're facing off against on a daily basis. A lot of times we have companions, but we don't get to that place where we express ourselves to those companions to where they can understand where we're coming from. And so when we focus to the point where the things that are meant to be there for us are moving out of the way, it is also that level of focus that we can utilize for those people to be there, to utilize that as tools as well too. And so another tool that's utilized is the ability to use that positive and negative force of Newton's third law, and to recognize that we have a ingoing breath, and that the ingoing breath gets that energy flowing inside of our bodies, starts to get the person that we are on the inside to open up, starts to get that person that we have inside of ourselves to start becoming the student inside of the classroom of us, starting to get to that place inside of ourselves where we use the things that we have in such a way that we start to learn from ourselves. That when we go within ourselves for that breath, when we bring that energy into our body, that is a positive force going into our body. That is a oxygen level. That is a ability to get into ourselves to the point where what we are is a reflection on the outside. And so when we get to that place where the challenges that we face off against on the outside no longer affect us, then we have to utilize the able mentality to go within ourselves. That absorption starts to become crystal clear. That place inside of who we are starts to become crystal clear. The challenges that we face off against on a daily basis start to become crystal clear. And so when we have the ability to go within ourselves, when we have the ability to become the reflection on the outside from within, then we need to start becoming the student inside the classroom of us. We have to start utilizing that focus to heat up the energy inside of our bodies, to start getting that stuff moving, to start stimulating that focus to open up that knowledge inside of yourself. And so when you start to breathe inwards, when you start to get your focus inwards, when you start to get to that place inside of yourself where the challenges that you're facing off against on a daily basis no longer have the ability to stop you from being who you are, when you focus to that point, you start to utilize these challenges that you face off against on a daily basis. When the person that you are on the inside becomes a reflection on the outside from that knowledge, then you start to become the student inside of yourself. And as you go inwards with your level of focus, and that absorption inside of yourself starts to open up, and as the lessons inside of ourselves start to become available to us, we must start to understand that those lessons are meant to be extracted, that the extraction inside of ourselves is like a student learning from the subject inside of the classroom. And so when we bring that positive breath and we welcome that breath into our bodies, as we start to get down with the knowledge inside of ourselves, that is a place where we start to study ourselves. That is a place where we start to become a connection with our level of focus. And as that reflection of motivation shows outwards, as that focus goes inwards, then ultimately the lessons that we have and the things that we have to overcome ourselves starts to come to us. It starts to be a part of us. It starts to be a place inside of ourselves. And so we ultimately become that kind of reflection. And so as we go into ourselves, we need to recognize that there is also a place for us to be ourselves. And it is inside of ourselves that when we are with who we are, that we can become one with this universe in such a way that it has the ability to utilize you and the gifts that you have from the knowledge inside of yourself, from the lessons that you have learned. The challenges that you have gone through are meant for your growth. And so when you start to walk down this lonely tunnel that is you, as you get down to the pace inside of yourself, as you recognize that it is you versus you, then you start to heat up that and extract that knowledge. And so this is you being in the classroom of you. This is you being in the place of the presence of you with the Most High Creator of this universe. The utilization of the centering of oneself between the breath, that this classroom has the process of the incoming breath and the outgoing breath. And so when we break down each subject that we are on the inside, when we break down each subject that we are on the inside, what radiates outwards is coming from within. And so when we challenge ourselves to that place, when we put ourselves into that level of focus, there's going to be a lot of chatter that's going to go on around you. There's going to be a lot of distractions coming from the inhaling and the exhaling breath. They're going to ask you a lot of questions. Is this what you truly want inside of yourself? Do you truly want to go to the depth to learn the lessons beyond your own thought process? And so when we get to that place, when we overcome those types of challenges, where we become that kind of reflection from the inside, ultimately what starts to come outwards is the liberation from those lower level thought process. Because as you gain that kind of knowledge, you become the student and study the challenges that you've gone through in every way. In every way, the challenges that you've gone through. And as you meditate, that reflection of that student inside the classroom, the study of the self and the oneness with this universe in such a way that the connection comes through you. And so, as you become that centered, as that place inside of yourself becomes a reflection on the outside, then ultimately the utilization of who you are starts to answer the questions that you ask yourself. Why did I have to go through these challenges? What was it that was stopping me from being able to do that? Now, as you face off against this, you will start to see the viewpoints of the multiple angles of the knowledge of itself. And so as you understand that it's meant for you to overcome, it's meant for you to have a place inside of yourself to become a reflection on the outside. As you understand this within who you are, then what you're looking at ultimately is a reflection on the outside. What you're ultimately looking at is a reflection of who you are. And so when we are blessed enough to have that, we are blessed enough to be in that place with ourselves, where the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis is the knowledge inside of ourselves to overcome the challenges, that there is no enemy on the outside, that truly what's going on is it's you versus you on the inside. And so when we get to that place where we free ourselves on the inside, then ultimately that person that's in that dark place that doesn't think that it's worth it starts to see how worth it is to learn from the lessons inside of yourself. So what kind of challenges are you facing off against today? What kind of things are you thinking that you can't make it through? That you're not putting yourself in the place where the knowledge inside of yourself is liberating you. And so as we start to answer these types of questions, as we start to get to this place inside of ourselves, as we start to overcome these types of things that would stop us from being who we are on the inside, we ultimately start to answer the question on the outside, that the reflection on the outside is us. And so when you start to gain that kind of light on the inside, when the self-study becomes a reflection, when the person that you are on the inside and the outside starts to become one, when you become one with your breath to the point where the incoming breath and the outgoing breath is both the teacher and the student inside the classroom of you, then ultimately there's no challenge that wasn't meant for you. So are you going within yourself to find the answers? Are you going within who you are on the inside to understand the challenges? Are you going inwards within yourself to become that person to overcome those types of things? And so when we understand who we are on the inside, the reflection on the outside starts to become a connection of our focus and our knowledge. And so at that point where this centered classroom becomes an understanding, where it becomes both an inwards and an outwards breath, an inwards absorption and a heating up of the knowledge inside of yourself and extracting it with the outwards breath, then you ultimately start to become a student of the teacher of you. And you start to become the teacher of you and the classroom. And so when we utilize the classroom with our whole being, when we put our whole self into it, where we start to overcome the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis, then we start to understand that that is a blessing. That placing those challenges that you go through on a daily basis, they were tailor-made for you. They were made for you to have those types of gifts and those types of challenges so that you could overcome them. So that the focus and the knowledge within yourself can get to a place where you become that discipline, where you become that story, where you become those challenges that you face off against on a daily basis. And so when we go within ourselves, when we go to that place inside of who we are on the inside, where we are willing to face off against those types of things, when we're willing to be honest with ourselves, when we're willing to be that kind of blessing, when we're willing to understand who we are on the inside, then the reflection on the outside is us. The reflection on the outside is a blessing, and you are all blessings. You are all the ability to utilize the knowledge and the focus inside of yourself to hit that point. And there is a lot of times when other people would say that the barrier requires a specific way. I'm telling you, there are no barriers to being yourself. It is all about your level of focus and extracting the knowledge within yourself for utilization in this universe. And so when the whole entire being is connected, and we see the whole entire story in many people, we see that there are those people who just gained that knowledge and that focus and they got it. They had gotten the thing that they wanted to do. They had become that type of person that they wanted to become. They had achieved those dreams that they wanted within themselves. And so through doing that, through being that person, through giving yourself those types of challenges that you can overcome when you are the person that you are on the inside, that ultimately the reflection on the outside is you, then ultimately what we're utilizing is the person that we are on the inside. Ultimately, what we're utilizing is the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis. Ultimately, what we're utilizing is the ability to go within ourselves. Ultimately, what we're utilizing is the connection between focus and knowledge, and that inwards absorption, that external reflection. And so knowledge and focus, understanding the utilization of Newton's third law of motion is very important. Utilizing the ability to find the positivity in all angles to realize why everything is happening. And so when we have that ability, when we give ourselves that place, when we get to that point where those challenges come from within who we are, when we say to ourselves that we can overcome these things if we focus to that point, then what we are becoming is a reflection on the outside. And so when we understand this, when we get to this place, we give ourselves that kind of an understanding that the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis are for us, then ultimately there's no challenge too great for the one that's able to go within themselves. Are you asking yourself these types of questions? Are you getting down with yourself to the point where you become disciplined to be who you are? Where the focus and the knowledge is you, where the place inside of you and the study from within you gets to that place where that connection is a discipline called you. After all, each of us have our own individual name. Each of us have our own individual journey. Each of us has our own individual path. Are we finding people that are on the same path as us? Are we finding people that are in the same place as us? Are we finding people that are on the same reflection? And are we understanding that those are the types of people we want to have in our days, our month, our year? Are we putting ourselves in those types of places? Are we answering those types of questions? Are we giving ourselves the ability to answer this to ourselves? And the beauty inside of all of you, the beauty inside of each of you is to be yourself. The beauty inside of each of you is to understand yourself, is to become that reflection on the outside from within who you are. And so, what is it that we want to be on the outside? What is it that we want to have on the outside? What is it that we want to achieve on the outside? And so, when when we go inwards, when we give ourselves that place to overcome those types of challenges, to become that kind of blessing, to become that kind of reflection on the outside, ultimately the blessing inside of ourselves comes. And so I want you to see that you are all blessings, that the things that you go through in the process is meant for you to enjoy. It's meant for you to see that you are something special, that there's nothing in this world that wasn't meant for you to face off against if it's there for you. And so when we identify with this, when we start to become blessings in this universe, when we start to overcome these types of challenges, when we start to get to this place inside of who we are, we start to connect our focus and our knowledge in such a way that the blessing in the universe is you. If you're in that dark place, there's plenty of tools out there. There's motivational speakers that are on a place of focus. There's meditation people that are going inwards within themselves to where there's a connection. When I started to do this, I felt like I was tracking a path by myself. Because who would be this guy in San Diego who would go in saunas by himself and meditate and drive thousands of people and speak to hundreds of thousands of people and get to that place where 100,000 people, in 7 years spoken to more than 100,000 people, would start to understand and start to share. And so my ultimate goal was to just share the experiences that I was having, to share the place aside, to get people to see that the understanding of themselves was knowledge on the outside. And so I looked ultimately at I felt like I was tracking a path. I hadn't seen a motivational speaker speak about meditation and about motivation, meditation, and to be an inspiration in this universe. And I very much felt like I was on this path alone. And I started connecting with a lot of other people doing a lot of things, and I still felt that all of those people needed that help. And so when I first started, I just wanted those people that were numb inside to love themselves. And I started to get to a understanding that they needed to be able to study themselves. They needed to be able to focus into being themselves. And so as we all focus into being who we are on the inside, as we all focus to have that ability inside of ourselves to utilize the things and the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis, as we become happy from within who we are, from a liberation of those things that are stopping us from being ourselves, then ultimately there's no challenge too great. And I have time and time again gone through challenges. I've had different lessons put in front of me to learn from. Like one great lesson that I look at was when both of my hips were displaced and a vertebrae in my back and my neck had became elongated. So when this happened, I had to go through 17 chiropractic visits. I had to go through, 17 chiropractic visits to get to the point where I started to get into my meditation, to where I was running 6 miles a day and doing body surfing. And during this time, I sat down and meditated, and I realized that no matter how many people I have in this world, I'm still going to be on this journey alone. That they're going to be next to me, and no matter what I did or did not do, I would still have to be myself. And so when we recognize this, when we give ourselves the ability to have this within ourselves, that the knowledge and the focus is going to always be you. It's always going to be there for you until the day that your last breath leaves your body. And so when you recognize that you have that kind of blessing where that knowledge and that focus can be utilized, where it's not what you don't have inside of yourself, but what you do have inside of yourself radiates outwards, then ultimately getting down to the point of who we are on the inside is a blessing. Ultimately getting down to the person that we are inside is an understanding. Getting down to the person that we are on the inside is a reflection outwards. And so as I started to study this, as I started to help other people out, I started to understand that writing stuff down was important, but also speaking it out and giving yourself the ability to be honest with yourself was super important. Giving yourself the ability to be that kind of blessing in this universe. Be that type of person on the inside that radiates outwards. Be that type of person who wants to, be a blessing in this universe was important. And so when you start to have that kind of relation with the creator of this universe, and this universe has the ability to utilize you, it will find a way that you might not think of. It will bring people to you that are meant to be there. It will bring challenges to you for you to be able to overcome. And so as you find that inside of yourself, as you ultimately start to face off against those types of challenges, it's going to come up to what you have inside of yourself. It's going to come up to you connecting your whole being to it, your focus and your knowledge inside of you. It's going to require you to be centered inside of yourself and to start becoming the light that you have inside of yourself. And at a certain point in my story of being who I am, I had hit a place where I had invested all of that into other people. I had put in all of that into somebody else. And it wasn't until I recognized that it was me versus me. When it was me versus me, and that anybody that was going to come my way was going to recognize that I am a blessing. They're going to recognize that I am a reflection outwards of myself. And so when that knowledge inside of myself becomes such a way that I had shut out everything that wasn't me, that's when I started to understand that I needed to help other people, that I needed to have a connection with other people, that I could bless other people. And I want to share that with you so you could see that inside of yourself, that when you're willing to work on yourself, there will be other people who will need you as well. And so when we see this, when we start to understand this, we get to this place where our focus and our knowledge is centered inside of ourselves, then this universe needs you. This universe will see you as a light in this universe. It will see you as a blessing in this universe. When you are in a relation with the Most High Creator of this universe, and it could be seen through you that the light inside of yourself is shining outwards, where you are a blessing inside of this universe, where your inner fire is lighting up this universe, where your knowledge and your focus is connected at a level of discipline, then the ripples in this universe have the ability to work that you are meant to be here for. And so when you're willing to help other people, when you're willing to be a blessing on that point, where those types of challenges that you face off against on a daily basis bless this universe, by you being there, then this universe will call you a reflection of inspiration. And so that's where I started to realize that if it's not motivation, if it's not meditation, if it's not inspiration, what kind of reflection is it? And so those are the type of reflections that I go after. That's the type of stuff that I share. That's the type of light that I have inside, that I want you to see that you can have that inside of yourself. I want you to connect with me and my group of people on multiple networks, motivation, meditation, inspiration.yoga. I want to start to see people lighting up the worlds around them. I want to see that the changes that come from within them elevate the people that are around them, that they start to see them for who they are, that they start to see the beauty inside of themselves, that the answers and the people that are going to be around them are going to be around them because they are who they are on the inside. And so, are you radiating outwards what you have inside of yourself? Are you becoming that kind of relationship with the Most High Creator of this universe, where you are able to inspire other people from being who you are? And that's what we have to start to answer to this universe. We have to start to see that the universe has the ability to use you as you. And that is a beautiful thing. And so as I was driving those people, this is the type of message that I wanted to share with those hundreds of thousands of people. To be themselves. To truly have that focus and that knowledge to be who they are on the inside. That if I can save just one person, that I could tell that one person that they are a light in this universe, that it would be worth it to me. And so as I started to go from writing stuff down, to starting to share it, to starting to speak it outwards, I started to find that it was liberating me. It was giving me the ability to become that kind of reflection on the outside. It was giving me the ability to go within who I am, to have that kind of understanding, to have that kind of reflection. And so, as we start to understand this, as we start to get to that place where what we have inside is something great, where what we have inside is a reflection outwards, we have to start to be gentle to one another. We have to start to understand where they were coming from, what kind of challenges they were facing off against, what type of things they are going through. And so as we start to get to that place, as we start to get to that kind of challenge, as we start to get to that ability to where we are helping other people, where we are becoming a reflection of inspiration, where we are so self-studied to that centering of ourselves that the blessings that are coming out around us are us. And so when we get to that place, when we get to that ability, when we get to that types of challenges, when we get to that understanding of ourselves, we start to reflect outwards from within. When you create those kind of ripples in this universe from your connection of your knowledge and your focus, where the discipline is you, when that discipline becomes you of your focus and your knowledge, this universe will utilize you. And when you search out the light, when you give yourself that ability to become that kind of blessing in this universe, the blessings that will come to you come from within you, then ultimately you start to understand. You start to get to that place inside of yourself where what you have inside shines outwards, where what you have inside is a blessing in this universe. And it is worth it. You are worth it. You are so special. I want you to know that there is no challenge that you haven't been through that's not waiting for you to learn the lesson to center yourself with those challenges. There's nothing that's not brought to us, each individual, that's not meant for us to grow. It is all meant for us to overcome. It is all meant for us to identify. It is all meant for you to become the person that you are on the inside. And so that is a special thing. That is a special place. That is a special journey. That is a special reflection from within yourselves. And so the beauty inside of each of you is there. And that knowledge inside of you is there. And the challenges and the way in which you take on those challenges are there. And so when I couldn't read, I remember a period of time where I had to utilize things different than other people. And so this changes no person from another. Each of us have those types of challenges. Each of us have those ability to go within ourselves. Each of us have the ability to turn it into a reflection on the outside of positivity. And so when we utilize this, we start to become blessings in this universe. And this universe becomes a little bit brighter place for us. And I want you to know that you are all blessings, and I'm here to help you all. Join me through my subscriptions and motivation, meditation, inspiration.yoga, YouTube, subscribe, as well as Facebook. Share this with your friends and family so that they can find the light inside of themselves, so that this universe can utilize them as blessings on their daily basis Center yourself in who you are, that the light will use you as a blessing in this universe. As always, blessings, 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 and namaste.